And welcome back. It's time for Opinion Court, and it's certainly good to be back in the seat. I'll reintroduce my panel to you. To my immediate right is lawyer Moses Chelanga. To my left is Kamodo Waiganjo, who's also a lawyer and a former commissioner of the CIC. And right there in the corner, Edward Kisiangani. Prof, how have you been?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We have missed you.
Have you?
We have.
Have you really?
We have missed you.
Okay, thank you. It's great to be back. What happened while I was away?
While we had a mini president. While you were away, Donald Trump wanted to expel everybody from the United States. And while you were away, the IEBC was told to go home.
Goodness.
And it's going home.
That's a lot in 3 short months.
Yes. Well, yeah. And while I was away, there was also, of course, the vetting for the Chief Justice position that has culminated in the nomination of Justice Dacid Maraga. I want to start very quickly, Kamodo, with your views. What do you think about the nominee? Is he a name that you expected?
Yes and no. I think the reality is that if you had been listening to the so-called kingmakers in the judicial sector, they would not have mentioned Justice Maraga, and maybe that's why he was nominated. But I think before we even get there, I think the problem in Kenya is that great things happen and we don't recognize them. Just a few short years ago, the president could have appointed anyone as Chief Justice. One time, the chief prosecutor in the Kenya cases was appointed Chief Justice, to the point where the president waits with the rest of us to find out who the Chief Justice is going to be after a public process. And that is a great development for this country that we will not even recognize. So even before we get to Justice Maraga, is to recognize as a country we have moved very, very far, and to affirm the role that JSC played in ensuring that you got a candidate that generally I think is acceptable for that position. And
in that case, Moses, was he a cautious choice, do you think?
I would agree with Kamodo Waiganjo, is that Justice Maraga was not a front runner, to use his words, among the kingmakers, but I would say among the stakeholders in the judicial system. But again, I think is a safe pair of hands in the circumstance.
What circumstance is that? Going close to an election?
That would count then, but of course also considering all the other candidates and considering all the politics around the nomination of the next Chief Justice, I think Honorable Justice Maraga is well guarded, is very cautious, and he will be our Chief Justice for the next 6 years, and I hope. And
Prof, is that what we need in a CJ, well guarded and cautious?
No.
Okay.
In fact, when you look at what my friend Kamodo is saying, is borders on comedy, because he's stating the obvious things. You know, we have made progress, as if, you know, to say this is what we should be celebrating, but not about what the appointment that has been made. So if you look at this appointment, I think the only thing I pick out is the fact that he is a safe pair of hands. That is correct. But what has happened is that the judicial revolution, which we anticipated after the 2010 constitution, has come to an end. It is dead because the old judiciary, as we knew it, has reclaimed itself after a short interference by an outsider from the judiciary called William Mutunga. So what we have done, I think a lot of people are very happy, and William Mutunga was part of this plot. When he took the reins of power as the head of the judiciary, he spent time thinking about individuals instead of setting up rebellious systems that will continue with the revolution. So when you say safe pair of hands, you're equating that to non-reform, a lack of reform? I mean, he's safe. Where are his reform credentials? Even let me ask you something. And you have seen some marks being awarded 84%. We have seen it in the news. I don't know whether it's true. Tell me one good thing that struck you during the interviews, because they were actually public interviews, that would make you award this man 84%. I think I'll reserve my opinion. Yeah, tell me one thing. You are a lawyer. You are a lawyer. I'm not going there.
If you're looking for activists, for people who are always in the public domain, who speak a lot, whose views we know, then Justice Maraga is not your person. But Justice Maraga is not new in the judiciary. The reality is Justice Maraga was in practice, has been the chief judge in several stations, some of the biggest stations in this country, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu. And if you speak to the lawyers who have worked with him in those stations, in the context in which he worked, he was among the more progressive judges at 2 levels, which are very important. And let me backtrack. What is it that you're looking for a Chief Justice? You're looking for 2 things. Someone who gives confidence in the court system, in the judiciary. Someone who has no allegation, especially in terms of ineptitude and lack of integrity. Number 2, somebody who has the confidence of the institution. Number 3, somebody who is a hard worker. Number 4, somebody who has the history of having worked well with other people and Justice Maraga fits all those.
But you've talked about him being progressive. Is there a court rulings that you can point to specifically that show, yes, this is a progressive kind of judge?
You see, what are you looking for? You know, progressiveness is not just about jurisprudence. If you had been testing people for jurisprudence, Justice Smokin Wanjala would have been way ahead, and then maybe followed by Justice Makau Mutua. But the Chief Justice is not just a jurisprudent. The Chief Justice is an administrator. The Chief Justice is the face of the court. It's very important that this country has confidence in that person. Not so much that lawyers will be excited by his judicial philosophy, but there is a person with the integrity, particularly integrity, has the credibility of the rest of his colleagues, and has the capacity because he has run other stations.
How do you measure integrity in this case? The guy has not even started the job. And then you are saying that he has
been a judge for 20 years.
Yeah, he has been a judge, but just wait. This guy has been part of the old system. He served under...
So is every Kenyan.
No,
you know this thing
comparatively, I'm saying, Kamoto, just be patient with me.
Yes.
Comparatively, if you look at Justice Maraga, in the 80s, he was already in the court system. Now, compare him with Mutunga. Where were they? Were they on the same side? Were they both on the bench? The one. So when you look at that, you know that Mutunga was interfering with the process, the status quo. And there are many people in the judiciary.
Being there in the 80s speaks to experience. That may be a good thing.
Yes, there are 2 different things. Mutunga wanted to enforce what he used to preach in the 80s in the civil society. Now, very many people are not very happy with him. But now, he was given the position of Chief Justice. He did succeed so much. In fact, some of the people who served in the 80s embraced him and made sure that he left early. And he thought that by leaving early, he will manage the succession so that he gets back a rebel like him. He didn't succeed. So now what we have is that the judiciary has recovered itself. And is he going to fight corruption? You are talking about values, integrity or not. Has he ever been on record condemning the corruption, the misgovernance that we have?
Is he not the one who has just recommended that another judge, Justice Mutava,
yes.
be removed from office?
We haven't made a decision on Justice Mutava. Mutava is going to do what? Is going to appeal.
Yeah, so let's hear from Moses.
I would want to disabuse this notion that you must be an activist to bring reforms in judiciary.
Don't use activist. That is your word. I have not used it.
No, but that's what you're describing.
Hold on, let's hear Moses'
because
point.
you see, the Constitution in itself is activist in nature. You just need someone who will going to implement this Constitution with fidelity. And Kamotho Waiganjo, I like his passion about constitutional implementation, because we just need a judge who is going, not an infidel, but someone who will interpret the Constitution progressively. I mean, judicial transformation is not a revolution. It is a continuum. It is a progressive process that we need a judge who is sober enough. And actually, during the interviews, the reason why, I mean, Maraga did not wow everyone, like Professor Makau Mutua and Dr. Smokin Wanjala. He was very calm. It was, I mean, his questions were a bit different. But, you know, at the end of the day, I was telling someone, we're not recruiting a dean of a law school. We are recruiting an administrator, a leader or the head of a third arm of government. So we just don't look at the papers. We also have to look at his integrity issues. We have to look at leadership. We have to look at public service. And this is someone who has said, well, I'm an elder.
But you have to look at jurisprudence as well.
Yeah, we look at jurisprudence. For jurisprudence, yes, I have gone through the decisions that our Honorable Justice Maraga has done. Yes, nothing much stands out. He has done this decision.
That's the point.
He has done, there's this decision, which actually is a very good decision on pirates, on universal jurisdiction of Kenyan courts and any other court to try pirate cases, which is a very good, well-reasoned decision.
Point is that nothing stands out.
And then at the end of the day, I mean, he would be a good leader.
And you have two professors. You know, you have two professors in the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
You see, you also must mix the intellectual professorship with a bit of judicial practice. You see, one of the problems also has been that it is very important also to say to the people serving the judiciary that you have a space in the process of leadership of the judiciary. If we all crowd the entire judiciary of the past and say they all come wounded so they cannot lead it, that is not good for the judiciary as an institution. Let us judge people purely on the individual credentials, not on the history of the judiciary.
What about this little thing about him that he was accused of promoting some tribalism? You remember that?
Yeah, he was accused.
Yes!
It's an accusation.
He was cleared by the vetting board.
He swore, he took a Bible in front of everyone and he said he has never taken a bribe. But he was cleared.
Once they accuse you of that, you know, you are integrity. Everybody has a name.
I'm afraid of
yes, and
everyone can accuse you.
Everybody can accuse you. But there are certain things when people talk about, they lower your dignity. Why would they even imagine that?
But Prof, in any case, anyone can be accused of something for that sole purpose, just to lower their dignity.
But do you know why the lawyers are supporting this move?
Because they'll have to appear before him?
Because Mutunga never used to listen to the ideas that people like Uganda say. Now they want a conspiracy. They want to ignore the bench and the bar.
They want to gang up.
They gang up and hurt us. And they know that they are... They have to safe pair of hands.
That is not on our watch. Not on our watch. Let's move the conversation forward. I want you to take a look at the rankings that Citizen TV was able to obtain, specifically in terms of how all those who vetted performed. And gentlemen, talk to me specifically about Justices Ojong, Ovisram, some of those who were pegged to be the front runners, etc. What is it that you believe gave Maraga an edge over them? And if I might add, seasoned names, household names like Justice Aaron Ringera, who actually performed, according to these rankings, worse than Lucy Wanja Julius, who everyone was laughing at when she said she was the chosen one. And no offense to the lady, but nonetheless, a big surprise, him coming in second last, at least according to these rankings that we saw. What do you think about it, the rankings?
Well, the first thing to say is that, particularly for the people who had really not been shortlisted, you know, the people who the JSC had really said did not fit the qualifications, I think it was difficult to imagine that they were going to perform very well in the final interviews. The other thing is that because the panel seemed to be looking at quite a wide array of factors, including temperament, including intellectual capacity, including your history, I think it was difficult then to understand why some people performed the way they did, because also we were not very clear on the rankings and what is it that the team was looking for, and where was the greatest emphasis. So it's not very possible to know, and it's very difficult then to know you're comparing what against what. So that's one of the challenges. But I think for me, I would say those ladies and gentlemen, I think it's been a bad day for them to know they are not going to be Chief Justice. I don't think it would be good to then sit here and say how badly they did. I think let them enjoy the evening and know it was a bad day for them, and wait for the season when they might get another chance.
The most important thing is that we have a nominee.
We have a
nominee, yes.
That's okay. We are not going to even if we wanted to change anything, we can't change. I mean, but these guys who didn't make it also, it's not the end of the world. But you know, we have a right. They were involved in a public exercise, so we have a right to discuss them in the middle of the night, and even call them in the morning at 3 a.m. to say, now we think you
just let them have one evening.
But the point that I would like to make is this: when you look at the nominees, that there were marks like 84%. I want to go back to this. I agree. You have been honest only once on this show this time. When you say that you have said
only once. When was he honest?
My lawyers have had you.
You now know the safe hands will finish me if you sue me. But you know you have
20 million.
You have said very clearly that you don't know how the criteria was. When you look at the media, it has been talking about intellectual capacity, it has been talking about academic credentials, administrative acumen, and so on. But probably the scheme is bigger than that. And what we lack under Article 34, 35 of the Constitution is the Judicial Service Commission has not given us information. So, in fact, for me, I would have encouraged the Kenyans to go to court to stop this process on the basis of the fact that we were not given enough information. How did the people, which part of the parameters they have given us scored more marks. So out of what?
What part of the law requires them to make that
if they didn't give us, they can walk away with murder. They can walk away with murder.
Let me tell you, because the Judicial Service Act, the act which is actually operationalizing this process, under the schedule, it provides, the parameters within which the commission will have to be taken through. They have to. There is a wide array of. There is actually a scheme, what they have to look in the person, and they give their own markings, and they give their own decision, and they give their own vote.
The credit system is not in the act.
And then
the credit
weighting. It is
the weighting.
And then also, you've already gotten the information on that. And then, unless you want to tell us that you would want to say, how much did you rate me on this?
On integrity.
On integrity.
How is it weighted?
Yes, how is it weighted?
There's something we're forgetting also about this justice. Kenyans right now see the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice in relation to the decision on the presidential petition. It was also very important. This may look like it's not an important consideration, that whoever is chosen appears to be someone who's fairly apolitical. Because the minute you had chosen any candidate who can be owned by any political divide, or a cartel, that would have been a danger.
Do you believe Raila Odinga's endorsement tonight makes sense? Because this is going to Parliament, Prof. This is going next to Parliament. Do you believe the endorsement of the leader of the opposition will add to perhaps his possibility of sailing through Parliament, or is this just rubber stamping and at the end of the day this is the man who's going to be
Honorable Raila Odinga is a citizen. He is entitled to endorse, just like I have officially now endorsed Justice Maraga. but I think the important thing is to ensure in my capacity as a citizen, just like Honorable Raila Odinga.
It's opinion court.
So I'm just saying, the important issue is that whoever it is that was going to be appointed Chief Justice, it's important that they have the confidence of the entire political divide. Because they are not known in terms of what their politics is. If you ask today, what is Justice David Maraga's politics, nobody would tell you.
And then also, I would also want to say that, endorsement of Raila Odinga, I think also would be, I would say that it is it's a vote of confidence on Judicial Service Commission, and I think that would be a plus for them. And then, because you see, that you wouldn't expect to give a nominee who would be rejected by a National Assembly that I was like, okay, you did a good job, we will do our part. And I'm just saying, the most important thing in a leader like the head of judicial is acceptability.
But you're almost sounding like you're saying, Moses, that Parliament's job really should be conveyor belt, rubber stamping. We should not expect any real value add out of that.
That's not what I'm saying. It's a vetting process. And the vetting process, at the end of the day, there must be approval. We don't want to go into a defeatist process that this person is going to be rejected by Parliament. But it is not a conveyor belt. What I'm just saying is that it shows us that at the end of the day, this candidate is going to sail quite easily through the process.
The point is that you are getting dishonest, my brother. you are saying this.
You're very generous with your
words. You have said they wanted a candidate who is apolitical. Now, and then you apolitical.
That was Kamoto
saying. Yes. And then you end up saying, Raila Odinga has endorsed. Now let me tell you why Raila Odinga has endorsed this man.
Okay.
He has endorsed him because he comes from the Kis region, where Raila Odinga has been looking at the events there, and he thinks he can lose to Jubilee. So any small mistake he does, he can lose those votes to Jubilee. And the Jubilee also knows very well that if they make any small mistake in Kisiland, they are also going to lose the vote to ODM or COD. So that is a very, very sensitive area. In fact, politics played a very big part. But people cannot state this. They are not going to tell you this.
No.
That is my interpretation. And if we ignore it,
that is political. That's political. You're political scientist, but you see, I think also we have to be very cautious and very restrained in terms of politicizing the judiciary.
That's true.
And tribalizing it to say that this particular judge is a Kisi or this one is a Kalenjin or a Kikuyu.
Because I don't want us to think like that. But when we start
to look at a chief justice in terms of
it's something we all hate, Moses. But the reality is that there is regional balance that is considered.
That's true. And the only thing what you need to be careful is then to define the judge that way. In terms of our own perspective, that's okay, and that's important. But let us not see the judge as a representative of the people.
But there is something more I want to share with my brothers here. And if we look at a person like Makau Mutua, he came third from the great system which we have seen. Now, you know this Macau Mtua, if tomorrow, you know he has dual citizenship.
Yes.
If tomorrow this guy campaigns in the United States and becomes the president of the United States, this Judicial Service Commission, led by Professor Kobia, will be the first ones to congratulate and say, you are the best Kenyan. Why don't we celebrate our own? Because this guy is being celebrated out of
the fact that he can be president, that means he should be Chief Justice. Those are two different considerations.
He can even become a judge.
Gentlemen. Wow, who knew it would be this heated? Gentlemen.
You have to celebrate your own. Now, if you are talking about the judicial system in
Gentlemen, you must... Professor, hold on. Moses, I beg your pardon, sir. Gentlemen. My goodness, I was going to give you a round of winding up comments, but now I won't. But thank you so much for your views. Certainly engaging debate. I certainly appreciate it, and of course, we'll see how this nominee's name goes through Parliament. You're back with more news after this. Thanks for staying with us.